Hello everybody, this is Todd Schaefer. Welcome to Planet Holistic. Today it's just me on the podcast, and I'm going to be talking about Myers-Briggs type indicator and just giving a general introduction to it. And here's why I'm going to do that. The reason I'm so passionate about using Myers-Briggs is because it has really helped me to understand myself as well as understand clients and work with people more effectively. So if you are a life coach especially, or have any interest in psychology whatsoever, or if you work with the mind in any way, shape, or form, MBTI can be a massive help in your business. And if you're not a life coach, it'll just help you in your relationships with your friendships and your family. So I'm going to throw a lot of information at you today, so you might want to listen to this podcast more than once, but it is going to be packed and chocked full of amazing, helpful, practical, useful information that you can apply. There's a little bit of theory that we're going to cover, and then we'll go into the details. I am a huge, passionate proponent and advocate of using Myers-Briggs type indicator. It's been around for quite a long time, but it's changed and evolved over the years to an extent in terms of the types of information that's out there to really make it effective for you. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that as well today, okay? That said, keep in mind that MBTI is not meant to keep you in a box or to place you in a box. It is just meant to help you understand yourself from a cognitive function perspective and to help you to leverage your best assets, okay? It can save you years of hard work of trying to figure things out about yourself. It can help you help your clients. It can help you with your friends and family, like I said. It can help eliminate confusion when it comes to dating and being in intimate relationships. MBTI is not the only typology system that I use. I also use other things like a little bit of astrology and DISC method a little bit, as well as Enneagram. But MBTI, by and far, is the most helpful thing, and I am just, again, such a huge, passionate proponent of it that if you adopt it in any way, shape, or form and learn more about it, and I will give you some resources, it will make you a better practitioner as a healer, as a life coach, and help you in life. And it's just tons of fun, honestly. So, that said, let me give you an introduction in this podcast to Myers-Briggs. So you probably heard of Myers-Briggs before. You probably have heard of, or maybe you know what your four-letter type is. For example, ENFJ or INFJ or ISTP, for example. We're going to explain what those letters mean in this podcast and give you a basic understanding of which to build upon. Okay? So first off, let's go ahead and explain how that works. Like I said, MBTI does not presume to define a person in their entirety, but rather it's a tool used to see the patterns and the archetypes to help us figure out which archetype we're more like than others, okay? And when we realize that we're each hardwired differently, then it's not about who's good or bad or wrong. We realize it's about the system. Okay, and it gives us actually better permission to be the best version of ourselves. That's how we want to use MBTI. So let's go ahead and go down the rabbit hole. Like I said, there was different typology tests. There's MBTI, there's DISC, there's Enneagram, there's the Big Five, there's the Graves model, which is spiral dynamics. I do recommend trying them all out and learning about yourself. Like I said, MBTI is my favorite. Each test is going to have a different focus. For example, DISC is going to focus more on behaviors. MBTI is going to focus on how you think and make decisions. So your DISC profile may change situationally over time, but your MBTI profile probably will never change. I've had the same MBTI type since 5th grade. Okay, so I know that I can adapt my behavior, but I really like learning how I think, because the quality of my thinking is actually what drives my behavior. Who created MBTI? Catherine Cook Briggs and her daughter Isabel Briggs Myers created MBTI in 1943 along with inspiration from Carl Jung. So what is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator? It's a typology and classification system for 16 archetypical personality types based on the 8 cognitive functions. How does it work? Well, MBTI's 8 cognitive functions describe the primary ways that people learn new information and understand it, as well as make decisions or evaluate that information. Can you think right now about how useful that could be in your life with your friends, family, or clients? Pretty helpful. So MBTI can help you to maximize your mental processes, your productivity, your communication, job satisfaction, happiness, and more. Your personal MBTI type is composed of a 4-letter code, like we mentioned, based off of these 8 cognitive functions. For example, ISTJ. Now, your 4-letter code is meant to tell your favorite way of learning and making decisions. You actually use all 8 cognitive functions in your personality, but you're going to be dominant with 4 of those 8 cognitive functions. All right, so let's get into the letters. So what does the 4-letter code stand for, right? So the first letter of the code, like for example, INFJ, that first letter I, that first letter is going to be an E or an I. I means introverted. Introverted has to do with your inner world being the real world for you. E, or extroverted, means the outer world is the real world for you. So the first letter is going to be E or I. Introverts are always going to check in with themselves first. Extroverts are going to look to outer sources first. So definitions for introvert and extrovert are often misunderstood. So here's the most accurate definitions that I've found personally. So introverts listen to their inner world feedback to get more solid in their outer world feedback. Okay, I'll say that again. Introverts listen to their inner world feedback to get more solid in their outer world feedback. And introverts are not always shy. That's a misconception. I've given presentations on this very thing we're talking about today in front of people, and I come off very extroverted, but I actually test as being more introverted, which does not mean that I'm shy. Shy people don't tend to give presentations. Okay, so extroverts listen to their outer world feedback to get more solid in their inner world feedback. Okay, extroverts listen to their outer world feedback to get more solid in their inner world feedback. And on the same token, extroverts are not always outgoing. Okay? All right, the second letter. The second letter stands for, it's going to be S or N, like INFJ. We're talking about that second letter, N. So it's either S or N. That means S is going to stand for sensor, which means that you're going to lead with the 5 senses as your perceiving process or your information gathering process. Sensors are going to be more interested in what's going on in front of the curtain. Like if you're an ISTJ, you have sensing as your perceiving process. Okay? Sensors are more interested in what's going on in front of the curtain. All right? N stands for intuitive, which means you lead with pattern recognition as your perceiving or information gathering process. So intuitives, or Ns, are more interested in what's going on behind the curtain. Okay, so N or S is that second letter. Now let's move on to the third letter. Third letter is T or F, right? As in INFJ or ISTJ. That third letter is T or F. T stands for thinking, which means that you lead with thinking as your dominant judging process or decision-making process. And yes, that still means you do feel. You just lead with thinking as your dominant decision-making process. And then the F stands for feeling, which means you would lead with a feeling as your dominant decision-making process. All right. So if you're a dominant feeler, you use feeling as your ultimate decision-making process. And yes, you still think you're just dominant with using feeling as your decision-making process. Okay, and the last letter is either going to be a P, as in INFP, or a J, as in INFJ. The P or the J stands for which function you show to the outside world. Perceiving function or a judging function. All right, so the P or the J stands for which function you show to the outside world. A perceiver is going to be focused on organizing their inner world so that they can explore their outer world. All right, a perceiver is going to be focused on staying really organized in their internal world so that they can go out and explore their outer world. A judger is focused on organizing their outer world so that they can explore their inner world. All right, a judger, is focused on organizing their outer world so that they can explore their inner world. So J's tend to like to have a lot of structure around them, a stable job or a stable family, that kind of thing, so that they can go inward and explore different things like concepts, feelings, theories, what have you. Whereas a P wants to be really solid on the inside so that they can go explore that outer world as a result, right? So P's are solid on the inside so that they can explore their outside, and J's are going to be solid on the outside so that they can explore internally. A lot of lawyers are going to be J's, for example. And by the way, judger does not mean judgmental. Judger is just a perceiving function, okay? So those 8 perceiving functions are either they're introvert, extrovert, sensor, intuitive, thinker, feeler, or judging, perceiving. That's all 8. But your 4-letter code is going to be 4 of those 8. You have all 8, but you're going to be dominant with 4 of those things, and that's where that 4-letter code comes from, okay? So once you know your 4-letter code, you can type that in and type in Myers-Briggs or MBTI, and you will find tons, hundreds, thousands of websites with different interpretations about what that 4-letter code means and start learning about yourself. My favorite place to go is personalityhacker.com. They have got the best test for Myers-Briggs that I've found, and the results that they provide are phenomenal results, very helpful. And they even talk about how those different functions work with what they call the car model, and they talk about their different cognitive functions. I've even mentioned it on a previous podcast. So that could be extremely helpful. And if you do like this kind of thing, please listen to their podcast. You might want to start at the beginning. There's hundreds and hundreds of episodes. But these guys, this couple, Joel and Antonia, they really know their stuff. And I've learned so much about me and so much about my clients, and I strongly recommend it to anyone who's interested in learning more about themselves and learning more how to be more effective in working with their clients, working with their family, and understanding yourself to get answers to some of these long-time questions you may have had about yourself, to show up better and more authentically in the world and staying out of victimhood and putting your best foot forward. So that's where I'll stop for today on this podcast. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you next time. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to the Myers-Briggs typology system. Thanks. Bye.